Welcome to another episode of the Writing Expensive Words podcast. Today I am here, if you're watching live on YouTube, with my lovely husband Travis.
Hi there.
For those of you who are listening, you can't see him, but he's pretty cute.
Or you can hear my voice.
Which is
and
also
pretend
nice.
and never look at my image and just make up an image in your mind and then be really disappointed when you see that image in reality.
He was gracious enough to come on the show today because today we are going to talk about embracing the struggle, embracing suffering. I can't remember what I went with. I think embracing suffering. That's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
I have it in my show notes, but whatever. I'm not going to open it. Because today, I actually am going to put Travis on the spot quite a bit.
Uh-oh.
He didn't know that.
No.
But but we're going to talk about what it's like when you reach a point in your career where you're like on the threshold of doing something really cool, but you feel like you're dying inside.
Yeah. What was that term that you used?
Embracing suffering?
No. The term yesterday, you were saying that artists use it. It's
it's called the deep night of the soul.
Oh yeah, that sounds like something an artist would say.
Is that right?
I've got to
look it up.
It's like the most macabre and melodramatic thing an artist would say.
Yeah.
Like, it was a deep night of the soul.
Oh, sorry. It's the dark night of the soul.
Okay. Well, all right. Dark.
All right. So let's read.
So.
We're reading off of EckhartTolle.com. Have you ever experienced the dark night of the soul? And he says, yes, I have experienced it. It's a term used to describe what one could call a collapse of a perceived meaning in life, an eruption into your life of a deep sense of meaninglessness. That sounds right, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So basically what happens, and Austin Kleon talks about this in his book, How to Steal Like an Artist. He has a drawing of it, of course, because that book is really illustrated. But it's like when you've been working on the project for a long time and it's like this peak that goes upward, and then all of a sudden it drops all the way down to like below where the graph is, and it's the dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
And then it goes back up and you finish the project. So it comes, it can come for your career, but it can also come for each individual project.
Would you say that the dark night of the soul is like when the cookies are baking, but you can't
and you
eat
can
the
smell
cookies,
them,
but you can smell the cookies, maybe?
Sure.
Or maybe you can't smell the cookies, and you're like, I don't know if the cookies are gonna make. You know what it is? It's a souffle.
Oh gosh.
Because you're like, man, I hope I did everything right.
I hope it doesn't fall.
I hope this meringue does not collapse. And you're just like, this is the dark night of the soul right here.
I feel like the dark night of the soul, though, is like if it were to collapse and then like reinflate itself.
It's collapsing.
Maybe.
Yeah, I've had a lot of dark night of the souls when it comes to cooking and baking. For sure.
Yes. Yeah. This conversation is making me want a cookie now.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna it's pizza night.
It's pizza night. So I mean, this is something that a lot of artists experience. I'm playing with my water cup.
Yeah, I'm not an artist, but I mean, you don't have to be an artist to experience it. It sounds like from what you're describing, that's like
it could be a life.
It's like literally every person.
If you're watching, you can see I have my new literary symmetry cup. If you're listening,
either way you look at it, it's correct. See, it's backwards.
That's right.
Forwards.
That's right.
Man, whoever designed that.
Because symmetry. Cool. But yeah, it's one of those things that I think we all experience, but artists tend to experience it in a more intense way. And I've talked about on the show a lot how I think that creative people feel things more strongly. Do you think that that's something you would agree with?
Yeah, I think though, if you look at the definition of what creative is, I think, a lot of people maybe would assume, artists like musicians, stuff like that. But I feel like I do feel like everybody has some amount of creativity because I think of myself as a creative person, but
you're definitely a creative person.
But I cannot.
When you're like, I'm not an artist, and
I know
that's one kind of that's a very
I know, but I also
kind of
I don't have good rhythm either. So I mean, Timo obviously has your rhythm.
He's talking about our youngest son.
Yeah,
who does have a natural sense.
I don't. Yeah, I don't. I. It's weird because I think of myself as a creative person, but I don't think of myself as a creative person. It's like this weird, like Schrodinger's creative
Well,
person.
you
I'm both
we
a
could
creative
talk-
person and not a creative
No,
person.
you're a creative person. What he's experiencing, ladies and gentlemen, is called imposter syndrome, which I've done a whole
Maybe,
episode about.
yeah,
No, it for
yeah,
real
yeah.
is. You're one of the most creative people I know. Like Travis made this whole office. Like there's a wall behind me where
I come up with interesting
my
things, for
cool stuff is suspended by magnets
mag wall.
because he made me a mag wall, so I
Yeah,
can
it's
change
pretty
it as
cool.
much as I want.
Yeah, I took pictures of it. Eventually, I'll probably put together something. That's the thing is, Kristen is laughing because I never do anything on YouTube, even though I could probably have a very successful YouTube channel.
I mean, I'm sure you could,
but
if you could
yeah.
like do 2 years of content
Right.
consistently.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
hard part.
Yeah, that's
And
it.
I think that
Yeah, I
leads
hate-
into what we're talking about today.
Yeah, I hate editing, so that's probably why. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so like when it comes to regular writers or people who are interested in writing, what do you like? Because anyone can write, just like anyone can
Anyone
cook.
can cook.
I know, Ratatouille reference, but anyone can write. What do you think? What do you think makes a kind of, let's say, sparks, right?
Creativity.
Puts them on that creative path. Because look, you have normal person, not a writer. Like,
Okay.
right? Normal person went through school, knows how to construct sentences and
Can
grammar.
do English.
Probably understand half of English grammar if you're an American English person.
Yeah, that's a little better.
But like, at what point do you think they're like,
Would I
I'm on the
consider
creative
someone-
path
Okay.
for writing?
Well, I think if you write at all, you're a writer.
Mhm.
If you listen to the show, watch the show, you know that.
And by writing, you mean probably not like texts.
Yeah,
Like
like
text
even no,
messaging,
that's text messaging.
But like,
I don't know.
would you consider like I guess
Like,
what I'm
what's
like
the
short story,
threshold?
short story, novella, novel.
I mean, even like flash fiction, I would consider that to be writing,
Okay.
and that's under
Mhm.
1,500 words. It can be anywhere from 200 to 1,500. I believe that's the definition.
I'd hope that's the
Um,
definition, Kristen, since you're the writing expert.
I
I'm
don't.
not.
I don't have everything memorized, but yeah, I'm sure on some blog post somewhere.
Sure.
Actually, in my new book, which is coming out probably next week, write fewer words, tell better stories.
Mhm.
I do talk about flash fiction, and I do define what flash fiction is. But my brain is a little bit scrambled. But I would just
That's
say
fine.
anyone who feels the need to write, even if
Mhm.
it's like in a journal, I would consider them a writer.
Right. I know writing is one of those like abstract like the knowledge is there, right? You
Yeah.
can teach someone you could watch Bob Ross or any other person, or you could watch Julia Childs on how to cook.
Right.
So you can know those things, but until you actually put them into practice and start trying, then I mean, you're
thinking about writing.
You're thinking about
you're
it,
thinking
which is
about being
a
writer.
part of creativity. Like what's his name from Mythbusters?
Adam Savage.
Adam Savage talks a lot about the creative process, and he says, he's mentioned a lot of times, and I'm sure you're this way as well, or probably any person who's trying to create something. You think about it more than you're actually doing it.
Yeah, I definitely
like you think about writing.
I
rather
think
than
about writing all the time. If I'm quiet,
Yeah,
I'm probably thinking about
That's
writing.
true.
Like we just went on a road trip. It was a sad road trip because it was for a memorial service.
Mhm.
But while we were on the road trip, if I was quiet, I was either in Vellalorn with
Mhm.
Ever and Dawn, or I was in unnamed city that I haven't decided yet.
any town USA.
No, it's like a big city USA. Any big city USA, with Franklin and Ioana, who are my
Okay.
new characters for my serial podcast that will be coming out
Mm.
at some point. But yeah, like I was just thinking about them, and I was thinking about what they're going to be up to the next time I sit down to write about, any of them.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm definitely always thinking about the stories. And of course, I'm always thinking about you. listener, watcher,
Hmm.
because I'm thinking about the struggles that you're going through. And one of the reasons I wanted to have Travis on, who is, as you can tell, he's like a very intellectual person. I didn't know that when we first got married. I was
Wow.
like, he's just really cute and nice. But then, like, after we were married for a while, I was like, wow, he has like really deep thoughts. Like, he's a very intellectual person. That's true. Like,
I think about
think
things
about
in
the
different ways.
conversations
Yeah, I
we
guess so,
have. Like,
huh?
he'll
I
listen
had
to
a weird one.
podcasts while he's painting all day, and then he comes home and it's like info dump on me, and then I
Yeah.
have to like. But it's good because I get all the best parts.
I
From the
like
things.
learning. Yeah, I don't read as much as I should, but like I take in information in other ways. I enjoy conversation and you know
Like
taking in
podcasts.
lots of
Well, you do read
and
articles a lot.
videos. Yeah. That's true.
What he
Sure.
means is he doesn't read a lot of fiction. Was that fair?
Yeah, that's true.
Pretty
Yeah,
much
if I-
every time you read, you're reading nonfiction.
Yeah, most of the time I know. I really shouldn't do that. Maybe I'd probably have a
You can
deeper
do-
love for
You can do whatever
reading
you want.
if I got into fiction, because world building and like fantasy unlocks a large part of our brain. You know,
Yeah, but you do that because
Yeah.
you read science fiction.
it's true. It's true.
He listened to
Yeah.
almost the whole Blake Crouch,
Yeah.
the
The
forward
series.
series on
Yeah.
Amazon.
Mhm.
He missed the best one, which in my opinion is Emergency
It's a
Scan.
shame.
But not reading, only listening, because
Yeah.
the formatting in the book is like a nightmare. Because Maria's like, I don't know what's happening, and I looked at him like. Anyways, so what I wanted to bring Travis on to talk about was that I've been kind of going through my dark night of the soul with my writing courses, because I've been working
I've noticed
on
that.
them since, like I tried to launch the Write This Way course
Mhm.
in October, and I couldn't get through. I couldn't figure out Facebook, which was changing at the time, and then now it's not working very well at
Yeah.
all. And if you are a Facebook coach, please don't message me and be like, I know how to make it work. I know, like, some of you are still killing it. I don't have the energy for that. But so I've been that didn't work out. And then I decided in December that I was going to follow Mike Shreve's Peaceful Profit One Book Millions method. And I started writing that book, and I finished the book, right? I finished the book a while ago.
Yeah.
I was looking through my receipts yesterday, and Maria edited it for me in March.
Yeah, wow.
March.
Yeah.
And I'm getting ready to launch it right now. Like, literally, I'm working on the funnel to launch it right now. I finished the audiobook. It's done. Like, I just need to get it in front of people. But I'm like hitting a wall. Would you say that?
Yeah, I think it's hard for you because you have so many different things going. You're like not just a blacksmith. You're like an alchemist. You're like a woodworker. It's like you
But not
have,
in real life. He just means
yeah,
like via
just
writing.
like it's like you're doing everything, a little bit of everything. You're like, oh, hey, maybe I'll do nonfiction. Oh, and hey, I'll do fiction. And hey, here's fantasy. Here's YA. Here's like middle grade. I'm like, oh my gosh,
It's true.
Yeah, although I have been saying for years that you should get into short stories more, because I think that that's a great way to craft,
And I have been writing more short stories.
It's kind of like, right? I mean, my dad had this axiom: take your worst subject and make it your best.
Oh my gosh!
So great way of.
I actually quote his dad in my new book, and I talk about that a lot because it's so important. You can look here so they can see your beautiful blue eyes.
I'm not a ham.
I was just telling Travis to look at the camera because he's not at all.
I just like looking at myself.
But so I do talk about that in my new book that's coming out. I talk about how your dad always used to say that. And if you want to hear the whole story, of course, get the book. It's Write Fewer Words, Tell Better Stories, and it's coming out next week. You can find it on the Literary Symmetry website. But I also talk about something he told me about that you weren't around for.
What
so I'm not.
Do I have to get the
You're
book?
Gonna have to read the book.
I have to buy the book out in bookstores near you.
No, it's not.
This fall.
It's only digital. It's only digital because there was just too many things I wanted to do, and so everything is set up digitally because I'm giving you, all my listeners, my viewers, a ton of free, amazing stuff.
So how can we?
So back to what I was saying, though. I'm like in the dark night of my soul as far as this program, this storytelling machine method, which I've been working on since December.
Yeah.
And Maria finished editing in March, but I've just been like pushing. You'll see it's a lot of stuff that's going to come out, but and I tested everything with actual human people. So but like I'm really close, and I just feel like I'm dying a little inside. So I wanted to get your perspective, because Travis has literally been watching me do this really hard, long thing. And I finally feel like I am coming out of it a little bit, but the only way that I could get to that point was to embrace the suffering that I'm going through.
Yeah.
And so what is your perspective? Like, what have you noticed as I've been like up and down and going through this really long game sort of thing? Because that's what writing is, right? It's a long game. You can't, If you
think about it, I mean, from my perspective, perhaps like, and maybe other people feel this way too, but, you know, I see writing for you, as like a teenage relationship, right? Because it has its ups and downs, and they're pretty high and they're pretty low. That's what I feel
So
like.
it's an adolescent romantic
I feel like
relationship.
It's an adolescent romantic relationship. Although I don't really recommend those. I don't recommend those for our kids.
Yes.
But I think of it like it's a love. It's something that you love. You know, otherwise you wouldn't do it. You know, I mean, and it requires passion. You know, writing requires love, and we've all read something or seen even just a synopsis that is just devoid of expense, right? Your
expensive words.
It's devoid of expensive words or really meaning in general. You know, and I've watched movies that are like that, and
and you feel gross boring. After, like you're
it's
like
a waste of time.
Gosh, give me that time back, right? It's our only unrenewable resource.
So I feel like it's hard because some people perhaps have a really good idea. They have really good passion for a story, but maybe they just don't have the critical elements to make it. It's like any kid trying to do an arts and craft project, because they have all of the same things that someone
these grand ideas.
Yeah, but they have all of the same materials that perhaps like a famous artist would have, but they just don't have the technical skills to bring it together. But they have a story that they want to kind of get to, you know, in the purpose of the art, but they just don't have that thing. So I see you as someone who's going up and down, up and down. It's hard because, you know, I mean, when you love something that much, it's, you know, I say this about you, I guess, I think I've said it about myself, but it's like, we said it about different things, like Greece. We'll be like, we love Greece, but it doesn't love us back that
much. Yeah, for sure.
Like, and it's
when we were
like
living
that
in Greece.
For you. Like with writing, it's like you love writing, but writing doesn't love you back sometimes. And obviously, what we mean by that is the material success to be able to keep on going, because you want some form of like
feedback,
or
right. We want numbers, we want sales,
you
some
want
tangible proof that what you're doing matters,
some tangible thing to help us just to keep on going, right? And
a lot of times I feel like as writers we look to sales, right? We look at numbers and we're like, am I hitting my numbers this month? If not, I'm a failure as a writer. I suck.
Numbers are usually always what we go to, but numbers aren't the thing, because there are lots of people out there that are like,
oh my gosh, you can't really insult people on my show. You're gonna get me in trouble.
No, I'm not insulting. I'm just saying, hey man, you know, it's cool, but you know, there's a lot of gimmicky people out there. There's nothing wrong with calling that out. I mean, because we all see it. You know, you see it in Target and you see it in a lot of those places where there's just front and center, and you're like, oh wow, cool. Look. You know,
to where you can tell the numbers are the reason behind why they're doing it.
There's a good editor that said it this way, that like these, like I've been thinking about it, because and I don't think that these are generational books, right?
Okay.
A lot of these books are going to die off in just a few years, even, you know, like 5-10 years. I mean, it's like you have your 15 minutes of fame, and you have maybe your 1 or 2 years of being like quote unquote famous. Oh, look, you're on the bestseller list and things like this, but they're just devoid of any like
so you feel like
meaning.
they don't have like the staying power of like Anne of Green Gables or
Oh
something
no,
like
no.
that.
I mean, even in like the nonfiction world, they don't have any staying power of like a lot of meaningful topics, like the body
Like
keeps
How to
score,
Win
or
Friends.
how to
What is
win
that?
friends and influence
Yes,
people.
that book.
That's
Oh my gosh.
a lot of people are
Yeah,
on the
that's
fence
been
about
around.
that, but that's been around for a
That
very,
book
very long time.
has, yeah,
you
it's
know?
consistently sold copies throughout
Yeah.
a lot of generations.
Yeah, and I just think that is important. What do you think about that? Do you think I'm off base on that?
No, I don't.
Obviously, you don't like me name dropping, but I don't care. That's why she brings me on. Sue me, not her. Just kidding.
No,
Don't do
you
that.
can only sue him if what he says isn't true. That's how
Yeah,
libel works.
and I'm just saying maybe it's devoid of meaning, deeper meaning.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, for sure. Obviously, I agree with you because we're married and we do share.
We've talked a lot about this.
Yes, we've talked
It's
a lot
not
about
because
this.
you're it's because I'm a man. She just only cared. No, it's not. No, it's
Yeah.
we talk through a lot of different things,
Yes.
and I see eye to eye.
And
on
I
a lot
thought
of
that
different
was
things.
why you should come on, because you've
Mhm.
talked me off the ledge like
Yeah, that's
many
true.
times.
That's true.
And I
know.
know, like, I'm always telling you, listeners and watchers, that like you just need to push through and remember your why.
Mhm.
And you need someone in your life who can remind you of that why when you're too depressed to do it
Yeah.
yourself. And like Travis is that person.
Or
for
have
me.
a good writing group. Some writing groups are really good, some are not that great. But
Yes, yeah. I
but
talk about that in my
yeah.
book too.
I think you, listener, watcher, I think the important thing, how I talked her down and how I really do think of it, is that if you're making something meaningful or something expensive, right? If you're pouring your everything into a piece of art or like a writing,
A book or a short story.
yeah, a poem, a song, that means a lot to you. It's important for you to put your everything into something and to do your best that you can. Now, once you do that, I think that writers and many other people should probably have the same approach that artists have. Like, they hope that someone's going to buy their art, but like they've already invested into it. They're proud of what they've done,
Yeah.
and they just let it go.
Yes.
You have to let it go.
You let it. You basically raise it, and then you let it live its own life.
Because if you are only focusing on the monetary aspect of something that you do, and you feel good about the money that you get, you are no different than a stockbroker. You're no different than a drug dealer. You're no different than so many other things, because all you care about is the money. You're not caring about what you're actually doing.
Right. Yes. Leave it to Travis to bring up the most polarizing examples.
I just think it's important because it's a slow fade.
Yeah.
Look, the reality is, obviously, Kristen, you research all these things, and they're important things to research on how to properly
he's talking about like hiring a sensitivity reader.
Yeah, no.
Like
I'm not even
talking
about that. I think you should do that no matter what.
You should
if
always,
you're putting your best into your book,
you hire a sensitivity
you need to
reader.
do that. It's like referencing, it's like reading really good poets to be like, hey, I want to be a really good poet. You gotta like take that in. You gotta like do your best. You gotta know your rhyme scheme. You gotta know what you want to do.
Yeah.
You can't just like throw stuff and like be like, oh, hey,
I'm gonna burn my rhyming dictionary. I don't care about that.
I don't even care about rhyme schemes. I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna scat.
Right, I'll just make up all the words. Right.
Yeah, no.
I mean, you could do that.
You could do that,
successful,
but like
Dr. Seuss.
But if you're gonna take, your craft seriously, you're gonna look at all these different things. Just like, I mean, that's a whole separate thing. But I think that you put your everything into it. And what that means to many people is, see, this is hard because it's like, you're like, I want to be a writer. Being a writer means a lot of different things to a lot of different people.
Yeah, that's true.
You could be like an older person that's just like, you know what? I'm on the latter half of my life.
I'm over the hill, so to speak.
Yeah. And I want to be a writer. I want to write a book. And I want it to be good. I don't just want to throw something out there, because for the last 15, 20 years, you can do it through Amazon and self-publish,
Right.
and so that means that the quality could go down tremendously.
Yeah,
right?
there's no quality checks besides reviews,
Right.
which are a whole nother thing.
Yeah, so I just think that in whatever you're doing, which is like you have taken so many years. I remember when you started your writing journey with me. Before that, you were even a writer and you'd written other stuff before I even met you.
That's true.
But
Guilty as charged.
but I mean, goodness, you've been writing for so long as our oldest kid is alive,
Yeah.
as long as our whole marriage. And so seriously, you've been writing for 9 years, 10 years?
Yeah, 10 years.
Yeah.
We're coming up on 10 years.
And that's crazy.
Not including Sprouts and Route.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I think that you've continually put it in. There have been times where you bought into the gimmick of just writing for gimmick stuff.
Right. Just write more books and you'll
write
make
more
money.
books. Yeah. If you
Just
release a
pump
book
'em
every 3 months and just keep the algorithm going. And it's all about the algorithm and it's not about the I can
knows
quote
all the
to you all
language,
this
right?
stuff. I can
Yeah, he knows.
I can talk you down from spending $6,000. If anybody wants to call me, text me. It's 1-800. Don't do it. 3.
Right. Yeah. Travis has
30.
watched me
So
watch a million different pitches or talk about a million different pitches from people who aren't writers who are trying to teach you how to write. How does that work?
But it's like I'm so interested because it's gimmicky to say that every person has a story, right?
I don't think it's
but
gimmicky.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's absolutely true.
I think the way you present it is whether it's gimmicky or not.
Yeah, it's true.
Because I'm always like, your story matters, right?
Okay, take for instance, perfect example. All right. Okay. Cinderella. Okay. Cinderella. That's a story that we all know. It's been done. Like obviously, Disney did it as a cartoon. Yes. Really beautiful cartoon. It's a classic, right? Yes. I mean, it's a classic for what it did because they took it very seriously. Disney.
Yeah, that's true.
Disney was like, here, I'm going to take all my animators and I'm going to take them to France and I'm going to teach them how to do animation in a very classically trained
cells.
Yeah, we're going to but they're going to be beautifully done. Mm-hmm. And so that's the same with Sleeping Beauty and Cinderella and pretty much anything that he did from that point on.
Yeah, Disney was very particular for sure.
So and there's been adaptations of that. Obviously, I love Ella Enchanted. Yes, that's so good. That's a hilarious take on it. Yes. I just so well done.
Old-timey escalators.
Super fun.
100%.
Just
agree.
A parody of it, but a fun parody. Yes. Okay. So, obviously parodies are their own thing, right? They're going for the thing.
Yes.
But recently we came across what I would say a kitschy, gimmicky take on it, and it was Amazon's Cinderella that they did. That was that was a musical. We watched 5 minutes of it, and we're like,
well, let me just preface that by saying we have this rule in our family that we're going to give anything 15 minutes worth of a chance because 15 minutes is an amount of time we're comfortable not being able to get back.
I think the equivalent to that would be reading the first 10 pages of a book or something.
Yeah, I give it 2.
Yeah.
Well, I give it 5. Most people give it 1.
Yeah, professionally, if you're going to submit your book, which I don't even know if they still do it anymore,
of a
manuscript, how much do they read? Because I've heard
I don't know. They'll say submit the first 3 chapters,
paragraphs.
but I know they know after the first 2 pages.
It's pretty evident what your voice and everything is. Yeah.
And if you can actually grammatically
for us it was that, and we were just, it was so painful.
Everyone,
and it wasn't just us. It wasn't
the kids
just
were please.
The adults. The kids were and these are all they know all the actors and actresses in it.
Yeah.
They're very oh, we're fans of these people, and they're just oof, this is so painful.
They were please. They're please don't make us do the 15-minute rule. That's what they kept saying.
Yeah.
They're please no.
We couldn't do it.
So we 5 minutes later.
So that's I can't speak to all of it because we didn't watch all of it. So if it miraculously changes and becomes a different thing, which I highly doubt that. And again, if there are people out there that are what are you talking about, Travis? That's the best thing ever. Okay, cool. That's great. But
it's
I don't know that me as a layman, no. I'm not a musical fan, right? We're not a music buff.
I can't watch Greatest Showman around him. Fan. What did she say?
Remember?
Yeah, she's making a Sabrina
I'm making
reference,
a
which is
Sabrina
my
reference.
favorite movie, by the
But
way.
like, yeah. So I mean, there are musicals that I like from time to time. I mean,
Oh,
obviously we went.
Hamilton. He loved
Yeah,
Hamilton.
I love Hamilton. Everybody loved Hamilton. But we went to go see at Broadway. We went to see Beautiful.
Yes, the story of Carole King.
Really good.
So
very
amazing.
well done.
Yes. So he doesn't hate all
So I
musicals.
don't hate musicals.
But like,
honestly.
if it's a musical,
I like
he's
Phantom of
way
the
less
Opera.
inclined to like it in general.
Yeah.
Do you think that's fair?
Yeah. If it's like sitcoms, the musical episodes, I'm always like, these are throwaways.
Throwaway for sure.
So what I'm basically saying is like you have a story that's really well done, but they didn't approach it with the way of, hey, like let's try to
look at the hard
look at this
parts
in a fresh new way. They're like, hey, let's throw some people at this. Let's put some music behind it, and let's try and do something, because immediately when I thought of it, right? I know immediately when I thought of it, I'm like, they are trying to take on like, what is it, Havana Nights, right? From not Havana Nights. What's the Lin-Manuel Miranda one? That's like that just came out.
I know, it's like On the Streets. Or something. I can't remember the name.
But
I'm really sorry.
Yeah, we'll look it up later.
Yeah.
No, we won't. But
we won't.
But yeah, I felt like it was like, hey, I'm gonna rip this off.
Right.
And that's the thing.
He's such a creative genius, but he uses all the things in his memory. Like he uses expensive words.
Yeah, totally. Because like he cares about the story. And that's
right.
Anyways. So that's kind of like a modern day example of what I would think of by like having, it can't be gimmicky. You can't be like, oh, well, I'm gonna write a book from fifth person, once removed,
third dimension
removed.
Just to
because there are people that try to do that, but like, I think it's interesting if you're already famous and you're already an established or prolific writer, then you can kind of expand into that. That's what artists did, like in the different time periods. You have
but you also risk making your normal reader fan base mad at you.
Yes, of course.
Right. But so in that case, yeah, you can use your influence for good or for evil.
Yeah, I guess that's the way for every human. Right?
But I think like what we're talking about is we got onto the subject of gimmicks because we're trying to talk about the opposite of that. Mm-hmm. So when you're suffering, when you're struggling, like I've been struggling and suffering to finish this project.
Yeah.
The best thing that you can do, and I want to know your opinion about this, I would say, is to use those emotions that are so difficult and to put them into what you're working on.
Yeah. No. I think that speaks to obviously the pain of art in general. And that's the thing, I mean, I can't draw a picture to save my life. I really can't. I was really bad at like Pictionary, but I've gotten a little bit better. But like, there's no chiaroscuro shading in there. It's not good.
A Homestar Runner reference.
And an art reference in general. But yeah, I think for you, I just think you just gotta keep on going.
Yeah. Can you read the Post-it note on the wall behind you?
Yeah.
Just grab it.
Sure. Says, you don't know when someone out there is going to need this.
Yeah, I wrote that Post-it note because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired of recording the audiobook for this because there were some clips and I had to re-record some parts of it. But the truth is, like, I don't know. I don't know when someone who's going to tell a story, like one of my favorite stories, right? Like someone's going to come write the next Iron Giant and like fill up my heart with sadness and happiness.
It'd be Brad
at the
Bird
same
if
time.
it did. So.
Brad Bird, very good.
Yeah.
But or like when Star Wars Lost Stars like overtook Pride and Prejudice as my favorite story. Like I don't know who out there
is going to be the next
well,
I remember you thing. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's true. You just don't, you got to keep on trying, especially as a reader. I mean, we take risks, right? I mean, if you're going to be a boring person, then you're not going to take risks. You're just going to be like, well, I found this one great movie, I'm just going to watch it for the rest of my life. Or I have, I only like this particular type of food. No, I don't want to try any other type of ethnicity of food. I'm just going to stick to this. I'm
only going to eat Pittsburgh salads with fries on them.
Stick to casseroles. I'm going to just stick to casserole.
I mean, if you like casseroles, that's fine.
If it doesn't come in a rectangle, I'm not eating it. So,
yeah,
you have to take risks, and you have to, I think as you're going through those emotions, right? it is good to reflect into them, or to sometimes pause a project and be like, you know what, this doesn't feel right for the tone of this, but I'm going to take all these emotions that I'm feeling and put them into, I don't know, a short story, a poem, like
Just
a
deal with
song.
those feelings in another way that's like
Yeah, or
fruitful.
maybe, I mean, it's good to keep a journal, right? Because you have like, I write down lines sometimes that I'm like, oh, this would be fun for a line in a book, but you just don't know. It's
when
like,
you're gonna use it.
what was the name of that movie where they're making fun of the writing group?
Oh
Where that
gosh, I
guy
don't
keeps
even
he
remember.
keeps a audio tape, and he's all, good name for a character, Joe Molasses. You know,
Yeah, I mean that movie's hilarious. I can't even think of the
it's
name
just
of
like
it.
making fun of.
But
But yeah, it's good to like, it's good to keep track of, like, to journal. I mean, I don't do it, and I know that you don't necessarily do that.
I mean, my
but
journal
you,
has bullet lists in it
yeah,
because in order
write
to
down,
engage that part of myself,
yeah,
I can't. I'll get too intimidated if I try to be like, I'm writing a memoir or something like
yeah,
that. So I just have
no,
bulleted lists for my mental health's sake.
yeah. I think it's good to get it out, or if it works into the tone of your piece, just to work it in.
Yeah, for sure. Or
You know?
maybe you can even like write ahead to a scene you know is
Yeah,
going to be
or
really
you have
heavy.
to, go back and rewrite and be like, you know what, I want to change the tone of this whole thing because I'm just experiencing this thing and I want to talk about this.
But now what he's talking about is rewrites, which I hate. But
which you've done.
But that's why I hate them because they're just like soul crushing.
You hate rewrites like artists hate the eraser.
I mean, I know, like, my goal in life is to never have to rewrite again, and you know that because it's
that's
so
a good goal,
painful.
but it's an impractical goal. It's not a realistic goal.
Well, okay, like I don't want to have to rewrite a whole novel again. That's insane.
Sure,
that's way too much.
I mean, at some point, it's just best to abandon it, and to work on something else, I suppose.
Right. Like, that's why I've said the Plunge into Darkness series is going to be my last time I ever rewrite full novels. And
last time, asterisk, hold her to it, blood oath.
I mean, I would be fine if you hold me to that blood oath because it's just so, that's like a dark night of the soul the whole time. That's what rewrites are like. So...
I think too, I know there are so many projects that you have, Kristen, that you maybe started when you were younger, but you're like,
that I put on a shelf.
I'm going to put on a shelf because I'm not ready for this yet. And I think that is a mature art. That is a mature creative to be like, you know what, I'm not ready for this yet. There are lots of projects that I have not attempted yet, maybe because I'm scared, but also there is something to be said about just doing it. Right?
Right.
Just doing it. And you've done that. You've done that with lots of things where you're like, oh, I'm going to just try this in middle grade or something. And you just did it. And you're like, well, that didn't turn out the way I hoped, but you did it.
Right.
And so that's good. But yeah, I think that you kind of have to know your limits too. It's difficult to both know your limits and to push yourself, right?
Yes. Yeah. To find that balance between I'm going to be brave.
Right.
But I'm not going to make myself I'm not going to make my mental health suffer, my mental or emotional health.
Yeah. Although, it's hard because, like, obviously you hear like
Travis is like, no, she cries a lot, you guys.
No, I think sorry guys, if you're a writer, you're gonna have bad mental health because like your whole
you can't say that. That's such
listen, I'll tell you why. Because like the whole thing about being a writer, right, is that you go to a cabin in the woods by yourself and you just write. I'm like, how is that good for your mental health to be alone with like only your thoughts?
No,
I know some people do that, but
some
you hear
people
that's like that's like kind of
I feel like that's a cliche.
I think it's a cliche too.
But, I mean, I know people do that for real.
But yeah,
and in the past we've had like, we have like Walden by Thoreau.
Okay. All right. You're right in that your mental health should be a priority for writing, because I think, and this is why both NaNoWriMo is a blessing and a curse.
Which it's not too early to start thinking about NaNoWriMo because it's the end of September, you guys.
Kristen got into it the first time, and I think he did, what was it, 100,000 words the first time? It's something stupid.
It was dumb.
It was so dumb. It was so dumb.
For my first NaNoWriMo, that was dumb. 100%.
That's why, like,
that's one of those books that I pulled out of Amazon.
Like, why? Because it's like the classic thing where, people think, oh, I need to have this many words for it to be successful. But it's like, it's like when you're writing a college essay and you're like, ooh, I'm at 350. I need 100. I need 150 more words
I need
to get to
500 words.
500.
Yes.
I need to get to 500.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Big red fire truck. You're looking at synonyms for other words,
You
so you can
start
make them
putting a
bigger and
bunch
longer.
of adverbs
Yeah,
in
it's just
quietly,
yeah.
loudly,
He
slowly.
whispered. I love doing that to her when we
Don't-
say something,
Don't.
and then I'll be like, he yelled, and she hates it, and I just love doing it always.
Always. Or like the worst is he'll
She
be like,
screamed.
no, that's not the worst. The
What?
worst
He laughed?
is
Yeah.
no.
Oh, I thought that was loud.
Is he smiled because it doesn't make any sense. You cannot smile a word.
I'm doing it right now.
No, you're not. You're talking. So
He talks in a smiley way.
yes, like please don't
No,
do that
yeah,
in your. But he does it
But yeah,
because it's hilarious.
I think NaNoWriMo is good in that it gets people who are just constantly dragging their feet about, oh, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a book.
Yes.
And then they're like, you know what? Here's a support group. You're going to do it.
Yeah, you
But
have the
that's the thing, though,
accountability.
Is that you have to set like limits. I mean, like goals to be like, I'm going to write 50,000 words. But it's like, should you write 50,000 words? I mean, it's good that you did.
I mean, I
But
don't
it's like,
think
should you though? And then it's like, do you then lose it after you get edited down below 50,000 words in a couple of months after that? Do you just
No,
lose that?
it doesn't go
okay,
away.
all right, doesn't go
It
away.
doesn't go away. But I would say that that's why I encourage people, which was your idea, actually, that you should start with short stories because they're much easier to deal with.
Honestly, like I am not a reader. Obviously, I've mentioned that millions of times. Kristen has mentioned it multiple times. But the short stories that I had to read in high school, like, have still stuck into my mind.
See,
like
I'm always telling them.
I still remember vivid scenes from those short stories.
I'm always telling them, like, what are some of the most
heart.
What are some of the most influential books in your life?
Mm-hmm.
The books your parents read to you.
Yeah.
And what are those?
Yeah, that's true.
Those are short stories.
Short children's stories.
Yes.
That's absolutely true. I know. Yeah, that's true. So I just think, for sure, mental health is good. And like, look, is it worth kind of pushing yourself to death to get like a little tiny badge or a sticker from NaNoWriMo? It's on the honor system anyways, and it's like.
But like for people like
guys.
me, the honor system doesn't matter because if I don't get the badge, I lose my mind.
Oh, man.
So
yeah, she's gonna get them tattooed onto her body.
I have
all the
learned
old things that you've won.
I have learned to set more reasonable goals. Right?
I know.
Wouldn't you
Camp
say?
NaNoWriMo, there's plenty of ways. It's cool. It's really good. I love what they're doing, but it can be very dangerous as well. In that, like, your art is suffering.
Maintain good mental health.
Yes,
right. That's
and your mental
thing.
health is suffering because you're like, I got to stay up till 2 a.m. to get my words in for the day.
But I would say, like, to close out this thing, because we're almost going to be at an hour, which is way longer than any of my episodes. I would say that when you are in the dark night of the soul, that you realize that it's temporary. Right. And that's what he reminds me, like, when I'm like, I can't do this anymore. He's like, this is temporary. Like, you're working on something that's taking you a long time and you will be able to finish it. And then you can move on to the next thing, which is, I always have a list of projects that I want to write.
It's like a mosaic. It's like you're doing a mosaic inlay, right? Of, you've seen those historical mosaic
you have to talk a little bit louder.
Pieces of glass that are, cut pieces of glass that are colored that can,
they're little tiny pieces.
Yeah, they're like a pixelated thing.
Right.
So it's like you could, it's just like that. You have to keep on going to get the full picture of what's going on. You're not going to have a book if you stop way before, your pinch point and all those other terms that Kristen loves to use. You're not going to have a story if you don't have characters that are really well developed.
Yes.
And you're just not going to have a story if you don't finish.
Yeah, 100%. All right. Well, cute man that I love. Thank you for being on the show today.
You are welcome, writer lady that I try to talk down from the ledge all the time.
But I mean, like, honestly, I just wanted to be transparent with you all because it's hard. Sometimes it's really hard, and I understand, and I know that, and I want to prepare you for that. So remember, it's temporary. You will get out of it. Have people around you, like this guy next to me,
but not me, because I'm, I have to be here.
Because he's mine. Too bad.
Sorry.
But it is never too late to write the story of your heart, and I will see you / talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.